What's up, everybody, and welcome back to this episode of the podcast. On this episode, I want to discuss why we need to stop diagnosing age and why a lot of the people who come to me have been stuck in a cycle of pain, recurring injury, and kind of lost which way to go. And I want to talk about this because there's honestly a lot of the diagnoses that are given in physio and given for the reason for pain are just outdated and need to be scrapped. And I think that once we start looking at it more holistically and we can get a better idea of why these diagnoses can be scrapped, we can provide better care, we can help each other out, we can help ourselves a lot more. Okay, so I was talking to a friend recently about the problem of using an MRI for back pain, and it was really interesting because he doesn't come from a medical background. So I always like to see what type of, let's say, patterns or kind of understanding that he has. But the thing is, he had a good knowledge of training in general. So when people are in this sphere, let's say, they have a good idea of general advice, which is nice because it can help you overcome a lot of things. But it's funny how the topic started, okay? Would you believe it started on the discussion of a dehydrated raisin? And yeah, that's exactly the way it started. I can't sugarcoat it anymore. He made the comment that if you don't take care of your spine, your discs are going to turn out like a raisin, okay? Dehydrated grape. And he said it's going to be dehydrated and degenerated. And in a lot of ways, it's a very acceptable point. It's a good analogy, you could say, to describe the idea of keeping yourself fit, keeping yourself strong, and making sure that you do build on your body and make sure that you're allowing the body to kind of recuperate and recover. So from that perspective, it's actually quite a valid point. But if you understood the background to it, you would see that there's actually more to this. And it's not what he meant specifically, but the idea of the degeneration being a problem, that was the part that stuck out to me. And I want to discuss that, because obviously it spiked my interest. So I asked him why he felt that degeneration would be a problem and what would we expect with degeneration of the spine or degeneration of the discs. Because a lot of people come to me and they say I've loss of disc height, I have degenerative disc disease, this is the reason that I'm getting back pain consistently. And so I decided in this situation, let's dive into it a little bit and see where he's coming from. Now, I held the position that degeneration is generally not a problem. And I said that it's actually a scapegoat. One that a lot of people live by and unknowingly live by it. Because it's a nice front for a scan. If you go and you get an MRI, it's very, very common that you're going to come back with degeneration. Okay, and this is why I want to show why it's scapegoated. 50% of people over 30 years old have degeneration in their spine on a scan with no pain. Okay, that with no pain is really, really important. So 50% of people who go in are going to have degeneration even if they don't have pain. It's going to show as degenerative disc disease. Now, if you have had a scan and it's come back in this case, what I want you to think about is, and you've been given that as the reason for your pain, this podcast is going to change your mind. Okay, it's going to break a few beliefs, but you have to be open to change. You can't listen to this podcast and then come out the other side and say that, okay, well, it's degeneration that's causing my pain. Because let's say it could be contributing in a way. And I wouldn't even look at degeneration, I'd look at deconditioning. Okay, we can look at it from that perspective. Okay, but the stat alone that 50% of people over 30 years old have degeneration on scans and they don't have pain, it proves that degeneration cannot be reliably looked at as a cause of pain. And once we know that it's not a reliable source, then we need to look elsewhere. Now, we went over and back on it for a bit, and it was obviously an interesting subject for him too, because for years he had been told and he had heard people discuss, okay, degeneration is the reason that we have pain. And you often hear people talk about when they were younger, we played sports and now I have bone on bone, or now I have let's say, like, they damage my joints and now I'm bound to live in pain for the rest of my life. And it's just completely untrue, because the thing is that pain is not generated there. pain is generated in the nervous system. Okay, so you can have what would be quoted as bone on bone and no pain at all. So why would you say that that is the cause of pain? You can have arthritis and have no pain at all. Why would that be the cause of pain? You can have meniscus tears with no pain at all, just showing up on scan. Although one research study showed 100% of basketball players, college elite level basketball players, D1 in the States, had signs of meniscal damage on MRI. 100% of the ones scanned, and they had scanned people who didn't have any pain at all. They just picked a cohort with no pain and then scanned their knees. 100% of them had meniscal changes in their knee. So when we're starting to understand that these scans aren't really telling us anything for cause of specific pains. Now, obviously, they can be excellent for diagnosing other issues, but for the cause of these some specific pains or chronic pains, the scans are actually overused and they're not a good idea. And what I then went on to say is, I dropped the question and I'll leave it for you too. If you saw someone walking down the road, you're in a sunny area, they're in their beach clothes, and you can see that they have wrinkles on their face. Based off of that initial assessment, nothing else, just the wrinkles on their face, could you predictably say that they have pain at that moment? You wouldn't. And he agreed as well. He said, no, that'd be ludicrous to say that that person there has pain because they have wrinkles. That is exactly the reason that you cannot say that an MRI with degenerative disc disease is going to be the direct cause of pain. And that is exactly when I started to talk about what the real problem is, okay, with back issues. The real problem with the majority of chronic back pains and people who come to me is this misuse of diagnosis. We have a tendency within the medical field to point to something physical that can be seen, can be touched, and can be measured. And what it does is it allows us to have this illusion of control. Something that we strive for in life is going to be safety in general. But what it also does is when you put a diagnosis on something, it chains us. It puts you in a prison of movements that you feel are safe and other ones that you feel are unsafe. The scan then will amplify this behavior. You start over-managing yourself because of this fear that you have developed from the scan fear you could call it. You reduce your load, you reduce variety in your activities, and you reduce spontaneity in life because you feel you have this diagnosis of degenerative disc disease or a fraying rotator cuff or fraying in a knee or arthritis in your hip, and you stop with all the spontaneity in life and you start living like you're chained in life. And what happens is when you start living like this, it creates this nervous system fragility, okay? So it's not just avoidance where you're avoiding all the activities that you love. The body actually starts responding to everything as dangerous because you start treating it that way. So we know that pain is generated in the nervous system. Now you're seeing how it can be developed through our behaviors also and how we react to things. Just because you have pain, it doesn't mean you have an injury. And the minute that you start believing that everything on your scan is completely true, you stop moving like a human and you start moving like a diagnosis. And it's important to realize that you don't need to have an injury to have pain. It can be comforting to say, point towards a specific reason. This is why I have pain. That can be a comforting thing. But once we separate the two, we can start to change how we approach it. And I see it all of the time, like consistently every single day. People who come into our programs and they say the biggest shift they make at the very start is not the physical shift, but it's a mental one. They begin to start to understand their pain in a different way, and they understand why it flares up, what could be contributing, and what it does is it removes a lot of the fear. Because now you're understanding it, and you're understanding what can be contributing, and you understand exactly how to manage that and how to build on it so it doesn't happen so often in future. You don't have the anxiety of, oh, I shouldn't go for that hike, or I shouldn't book a holiday, or I don't think I'm going to play paddle, or I don't think I'm going to do a high rocks because what if, what if the back flares up and I'm crippled then for weeks after it. That narrative controls your life, and that's why I say that as soon as you start believing everything on your scan, you don't move like a human anymore. You don't act like a human. You start moving like you think the diagnosis should move. So it completely changes your identity of who you feel you are. Now, there's so much misinformation out there, and it scares people into a position that they feel like you're helpless or feel like you're powerless over your life. And in a lot of ways, it feels like you are destined to failure. Feels like you're going to continue to deteriorate and grow old and in a body that's broken. And I see it all the time. People who jump on the program before they get started, they've been told countless times they need to stop running, they need to stop exercising, stop deadlifting, don't do burpees. You can't play football anymore. You can't play paddle, or you cannot play tennis anymore. Don't do golf. And really, they're given no other option but to live with it and to not aggravate it. Don't do anything that aggravates your pain. You may have heard that before, but this is actually not the case. Sometimes you need to lean into your pain, and sometimes you need to take control and push the body. And then other times you need to pull back and give it a chance to recover. This is a huge, this is a basic thing. This is stress and adaptation. This is understanding the body. It's what we base our entire programs off of. Our Back Pain Back to Exercise program, our Select program. Because ultimately what you're trying to do is you want to it's not rewiring just the body, but you actually need to rewire the story that your brain rewards. Okay? I'm going to say that again. You have to rewire not just the body, but the story that your brain actually rewards. The story that you want to be telling people. I want you to think for a second, what's the story that you tell people now about your body? And where would you like to be? What would you like to do? What would you like to be telling people about how your week went the week before? Was it, oh my God, I was laid up all weekend? Or I was laid up because I couldn't do anything? Or would you like to flip that? And would you like to say that I was out with friends and we went for a hike? Or would you like to say that I went for a run, went for a 5K? A really successful guy just last night that I was chatting to, who is working with me on a one-to-one, who had a bulging disc, and he's getting back and he's working towards a high rocks. And he's in a place now. He was at the start, he was literally not able to do a high plank because his body had gotten so protective and had become so cautious that everything was causing pain and everything was causing this overreaction. That was in March. And now we're in a place that he's building for a high rocks in September. And he's able to run 6K. He can do sprints. He can do squats. He can do deadlifts. He can do plyos, which are jumps. All of these things that he thought that he couldn't do before. Another lady who jumped on board and she was told to stop running. And what we did is we just put a focus on, okay, let's take down this sensitivity, understand this pain, and understand what's a good pain to push into and what's a bad one. And then we lay out these small progressions to build up to that point. It might be go for a jog and 200 meters on and 200 meters off. Come back and talk to me about what happened. Okay, it's not that we don't just stop because we get pain. I want you to actually talk to me about what happened. How did you react? What did you do? And we just did that for a couple of weeks, pulled back a little bit, made a few adjustments, added some strength work in the background, some light mobility, laid out the progression plan, and she's back running 5K now, consistently. So it sounds so simple, But it's what's missed out is a lot of people just go down the path of they go into physio, they get a massage or they get injections, they're doing laser, you're getting ultrasound, getting dry needling, and it's just helping you for the next 24 to 48 hours. And there's no real progression plan. You don't understand what's a good pain, what's a bad pain. Like, there has to be a significant mental reshift to actually get this right. Okay, there really does. But the only way you can do that is to have evidence showing you that, okay, right, that was a painful thing at the start, and now I can see I can do that. So, as I said there, ultimately, it's not about rewiring just the body. Yeah, you have to rewire the story that your brain rewards. And right now, it's rewarding caution. So we need to flip that. And honestly, I haven't seen anyone else really do it this way. It's crazy because what we're doing, like, you're just trying to combine the research around chronic pain, around identity, the research around stress and adaptation, load management, and you're just putting it together to allow the body to rebuild. We're not cautious. We're not saying that the body is broken. We're putting the body in a position so that in a couple of weeks' time, it's going to be stronger than it was today. It's going to be in a better position than it is today. You're going to have better routines. You're going to feel more confident, and you're going to understand why things flare up. What's a good pain? What's a bad pain? Just another one that crops to mind. I was just talking to this guy 2 hours ago. He had been off playing football for 2 years because of a back injury. And it took him a long time to get back in. We started working together in December. And as he was getting back in, what I noticed is there was not just cycles there of pain. There was clear patterns, like mental patterns that were coming in, huge mental obstacles, and how he was reacting to pain was a problem. He was very, very cautious to it. And right now, today, he's back training 3 times a week with his GA club. And he's preparing for senior championship, which is a huge change. And it just takes consistent evidence. Like, we were on the call today, and now he went, let's say he was training at the weekend, and he said, okay, quads are getting really sore. Do I stop everything here now and wait for this to calm down? And I said, no, this is exactly what you do. I'll tell you exactly what I told him. I said, Sunday, you had a heavy training. Thursday, you had a heavy training. And Tuesday, you had a heavy training. So this week, what I want you to do is, because obviously he's getting back into the swing of things, the body probably hasn't adapted to this higher performance of what he's trying to get to. So I said, this Tuesday, I want you to go into training at 40%, jump in the warm-up, do light runs, do a bit of kicking, and help the team out. And all you're doing there is that's like a regression of what you do normally. And then I want you to, after that, Wednesday, get out and move about and just make sure we relax everything down, calm it down. And then Thursday, we're going to look to increase it. Okay, we're going to look to get back to 100% training. And then on Friday, I want you to hit a gym session, one that we had planned out. And I want you to do that session with kind of the intention that we're going in at like 50 or 60%. Saturday, rest day. Sunday, get into full training. And then next Tuesday, which is 7 days from today, I want you to be back in training fully again. Okay? So that way, what he has done there is, like 3 days ago, heavy training. 2 days ago, heavy training. Today, he's taking it easy. Thursday, he's going to go back to heavy training. Then he's going to go Friday. Then he's going to go heavy training Sunday. And then next Tuesday, he's going to go heavy training again. And then next Thursday, he's going to go heavy training. And then what we will do on the next call, and if he's listening to this podcast, is we will look over everything and we will look at, okay, what's the evidence showing? How did it work out? And is that something that was beneficial? And do we need to taper off next time, or do we push on? And I'm pretty confident I know what we're going to do going forward, okay? Because you need to progress into things, you need to pull back, let it recover, and then you build again. But the only way you can do this is if you understand that not all pain is a bad pain. And often pain is a good thing. It can be a sign of adaptation. It is often a sign of adaptation. And you need to have a clear structure as to how you're going to approach it. If you're just trying different things, like you're doing a bit of Pilates, or you're doing a bit of massage, or you're getting a few injections, or a bit of gym, and you don't really have any clear plan, it's going to be very difficult to make progress. Like, random exercises on YouTube aren't going to fix you, because your nervous system needs proof of safety through patterns. And that explains exactly as what I was just talking about there. Mike, with getting back into training, he's going to push on, he's going to push on, he's going to push on, he's going to pull back for a day, then he's going to push on, then he's going to push on, and then next week he's going to have the evidence to say that, wow, I was able to do this. And that's how he starts to build identity and confidence in himself again. Because you need to change your identity, and patterns are going to build the identity. If you continue living with an identity that you have a bad back or you have a dodgy hip, you're never going to make real progress. Okay, because you're always going to fall back on that. That was actually something I had to address today on another call to another guy who was playing tennis. And he was like, pain was hurting me. I think I have a dodgy hip. And I was like, no, you don't. You just can't do a step up with one side, but you can do it with the other side. That's just clear weakness. That's not a dodgy hip. That's just, we need to build strength in one side. So you're rebuilding not just the body, but you're rebuilding how the brain actually starts to trust the body as well. And that's why the education part is really important. And I love the calls because they're good crack. We can go over, we can chat, we can talk about beliefs that are working, ones that weren't working. And then what we do is we start to reform this identity to get there. In our back to exercise programs, what we do is we focus on this individualized care. We have to do that. Okay, we talk to everyone individually, and then we talk in groups. And that's, the individual calls are done before you even get going, so that you know what your goals are. We lay out action plans, we lay out objectives, and we lay out goals that suit your lifestyle and the direction that you want to go. It's really important. I help people get back to activity and exercises. Okay, if your plan is just to get out of pain, that's extremely simple. We can do that in like a week or two. But as soon as you start to increase your exercise, then it's going to come back. Okay, as soon as you start to get back your life, it's going to start coming back. You need to build it to the state or the life and lifestyle that you want. If the lifestyle that you want is sitting on the couch watching TV, you'll get rid of it for a while, it's going to come back. You'll get rid of it for a while, it's going to come back. And what you do instead is you build it up to a tolerance that you can do whatever you want, whenever you want. And we keep you accountable while you're doing that. So lastly, in the Back to Exercise program, we have a community of people. And it's a really nice community because people can talk to each other about what was working and what wasn't working. In the Select program, it's like one-to-one, directly, really focused, 6 months. Okay, let's go. This is what we're focusing on today and for the next 2 weeks. Exactly as I talked about with the calls, with the guys. And it's just, I love it. It's really enjoyable because each week we jump on and we talk through everything. And we honestly have so many people from different backgrounds, from people with multiple sclerosis to rheumatoid arthritis to multiple back and knee injuries. I'm trying to think, shoulder surgeries, foot arthritis at the moment as well. I'm just thinking of the new people that popped on over the last week. Bulging discs are very consistent as well. But we help everyone. If you have a chronic issue and you're looking to get back into exercise and you're looking to build it up, just reach out, shoot me a message. I'll drop a link below, and what you can do is you can go in, click on that link, and you can book a call. And if it aligns, we can jump on the call and we can talk through everything. And really, what we do first, before anyone gets on board, we have to talk through everything and lay out and just see if we're able to help you. At the moment, with the Select, I can take on 3 people overall. And the back to exercise, we have a bit more variety with the amount that we can take on there. We have a bit more openness to that as well. So that's a 14-week program, and it's more for back pain. The Select program is like any type of a chronic issue or chronic condition, and you're looking to get back into more consistent exercise, overcome the fear, get rid of the anxiety, and actually start living again in a lot of ways. So if you want to get stronger, you want to move better, and you want to finally live pain-free, it's time to change the narrative. You need to change your identity. It's time to change your story. So that's all I'm going to talk about today, and I'm looking forward to talking to anybody who is interested in this, and I'm always open to it. So you can write to me on Instagram at RobbieCassidy_, on LinkedIn at Robbie Cassidy, or you can shoot me an email at info@themobilitytutor.com if you have any questions at all. If you're ready to jump on, you just click the link at the bottom in this description, and let's book a call, and we can jump on, we can talk through everything and see if you are a good fit. And as I said, right now with the Select, there's only a couple of places left. So if that's something you are, make sure to jump on because they generally fill up pretty quick, which is always nice. That's all I'm going to talk about today. So you need to stop diagnosing age. That's the whole thing. Just because your MRI shows something does not mean that you need to live that way. And the easiest example of that is 50% of people over 30 years old have degeneration on scans. They have no pain. So that proves you cannot diagnose age through scans. Would you diagnose someone with wrinkles on their face? I would hope not. That's all from me today. Hope everyone out there is keeping well. And enjoying the podcasts. We will be back at the same time next week. If you can, I would love if you could please rate this podcast. I want to get it up to 1,000 ratings, and I'm looking to get it up to 1,005 stars. It's crazy, but that's the goal. So if you could rate it, I would love it. If you could send it on to a friend you think this would help, I would absolutely love that as well. It's huge. It just helps me to get the podcast out. I can get more guests on, and I can really expand on it as well. But that is all for me now. I will leave it at that. Thank you again for listening. I'll chat to you all at the same time next week. Have a good one.